Now we're going to switch over to, let's check out this couch image. Just going to bring it back, and I'm actually going to bring us back to the very beginning of this file. This is the brand new file, how it was opened up. And here we're going to go over the object select tool again, and then the quick select. So how to combine those two selection tools to get a good selection. And then we're going to talk about the hue saturation adjustment layer. Okay, so let's do this. So we're going to remember that our object selection tool is up here. If you see the magic wand, which typically is a default, then it's nested. So it's either going to be quick select, magic wand, or object selection tool. I'm choosing object selection. Going up to my parameters at the top, making sure sample all layers is checked, and also making sure that my mode is the lasso. All right, let's do this. So I'm going to take my lasso and I am going to draw pretty loosely, pretty roughly, not paying attention to much detail here, and all around this object. Let's see if the computer can recognize which object I was looking to select. All right, that's okay. It's an okay job, but I certainly see as I zoom in using my Command T and then using my spacebar to toggle with that hand so I can navigate around, I can certainly see that there are areas that it missed. So I'm not going to use the object selection again because that's for an entire object. Now I'm going to move over, click and hold, and I'm going to go to my quick selection tool. This quick selection tool is going to be a circle. It has a plus in the middle of it. That's how you know it's going to add to a selection. If you want to switch that, again, you go up to the parameters at the very top. Right? This entire bar up here is going to show us all of our parameters for this particular tool. So right now I'm in the add to selection. I might want to switch over to subtract from selection option. Now you'll see that my brush, or the size of my brush has a minus in it. So I'm going to subtract. Of course, just like the other selection tools, you can toggle back and forth between subtract and add to a pre-existing selection. So I'm going to use my shift to toggle to plus, and if I let go, it goes back to minus. Or if I'm in my add selection tool, I would use the alt option to toggle back to a subtract. So it kind of depends on where you are, but the shift and the alt option keys are still relevant as you're using this quick selection. All right, I'm going to click over to the subtract selection tool because I know that's the one I'm going to use the most right now because I have a selection that is too much. All right, so I'm going to click in here, and that does an okay job, but I need to do a few more areas. That went all the way down. That's okay. Now I'm going to use my hand, and I'm going to move over. Now, the whole goal of selecting this couch is to change the color of it, and I don't want to change the color of the pillows, so I need to subtract them from my pre-existing selection. So I'm going to click, and this is the interesting thing about quick selection. Right now, it's subtracted from pretty much the same size selection as my brush. Now, if I zoom out using Command minus just a little bit, and now I click subtract from pre-existing selection, it gets a much larger subtraction there. So that quick selection button really works with your zoom in and your zoom out. All right, I'm going to finish off my pillows here. And that one got the entire pillow. I used my space bar and my hand to toggle over to navigate. There's a lot of colors on this pillow, so I need a few more clicks here to get through all of it. Looks pretty good. I don't want the blanket either. I don't want to change the color of the blanket, so I'm going to start clicking through there. Ooh, that's not working so well, so I'm going to zoom out using Command minus and see if clicking on here, yep, there we go. That was the right click. Now I got most of that brush. Again, just kind of like playing around with that a little bit when you're doing kind of a rough selection like this. But I also noticed that here, all of a sudden, this red area on the top of the couch is now not selected when I need it to be selected. So I'm going to toggle, holding my shift, to add that portion to my selection. Okay. So Now I need to zoom out, so Command plus, and I'm going to show you the hue saturation adjustment layer so that we can change the color of this couch. Okay, so on our layers panel, we're going to look over here on layers. At the very bottom of this window, you can see that there is a couple more buttons. And one of those buttons is a circle that's halfway filled in. It kind of looks like a black and white cookie, you know? So if you click and hold on there, that's your adjustment layer. So it's going to give you a whole bunch of options, and one of those is, whoops, let's undo that. One of those is your hue and saturation, which is the one we're going to work with today. Okay, so when I let go, you'll see in your layers panel, what do we observe? We observe we have a new layer, and the layer has adjustment properties to it. It also has a mask layer on there. The reason why it has a mask layer is that we use that selection to decide, hey, only this part of this image do we want to have an adjustment on. Okay, so I'm going to go up to my properties and I'm going to use the slider, and you'll see as I slide that hue over, the color of the couch changes. Underneath the hue, you have a saturation slider and a lightness and a darkness slider. You might be wondering, why is my slider on blue when my couch is like a orange? All right, so you'll notice that this quantity in here, this quality in here is a plus 32. So that's actually referring to 32.32 degrees off of the original color if we were referring to a traditional color wheel. So that's a little bit beyond where we want to go with this, but if you got into designing and you really went into this field, you most likely would be using these parameters. We want ours to align with what we visually see. So we are going to click this colorized button right here. We click that colorized button. Now we can see that the blue color on our slider is indeed the blue color that we are previewing in our image. That seems to work for our purposes a little bit better, and you can go through and choose how you might want to change that hue of your particular object. Okay? Now that wraps up what we were going to discuss today. So we just went over how to change the hue and saturation by using an adjustment layer. We did that to a pre-existing selection that we had captured using both our object selection tool and our quick selection tool. We also talked about duplicating a layer using our Command J option. We talked about duplicating a selection of a layer. We also started off this video learning about the spot healing tool. So using a combination of all of those tools, you'll be able to affect a lot of change to your files. The last thing we're going to review to close up here is how to export. And it is fairly simple here in Photoshop. You'll go to File, Export, and then choose Export As. Typically, this will default to the JPEG format that we want, but it's always a great idea to double check. Yes, JPEG, of course, you can change the quality of your image as well, and you just want to find a place where the image quality fits your output. So where this is going, is it a magazine? Is it web? Where that image is going to be seen will determine the quality that you need. Everything else can stay the same. Go ahead and click Export, save it, and name it. And that's it for us today. I hope you enjoyed and you can use these tools in your projects.